Hi, everyone. So today I'm going to talk with you about pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses. And I feel like this is a limb of yoga that is often avoided and misunderstood. So I wanted to take some time and make a video and go through the slide presentation so that you could have a better understanding of what it is. So, withdrawal of the senses, the Sanskrit term is pratyahara. And that's the first step of the inner limbs of yoga. So we have the outer limbs of yoga and the inner limbs of yoga. The outer limbs of yoga are the yamas, the niyamas, asana, and pranayama. And those limbs of yoga get us ready for the inner limbs of yoga, which are your contemplative limbs of yoga. So pratyahara is our first contemplative limb of yoga, or the first step. These all work together. They fuse together and they happen at the same time. But we have to have an understanding of what each is in order to understand how we react and respond to our environment. And this is essentially what pratyahara is. It's our mind and our body responding to our environment. So the word ahara means food, and the word prati means away. So these are the two roots of this term. So we are trying to pull ourselves away from food. And there are three kinds of food. It's not simply the food that we ingest for nutrition and to sustain our lives. There's much more to that. So if you think about it, we're constantly being bombarded with information and stimuli, and our brains are absorbing and processing constantly. And there are three types of food in our environment that we ingest, okay? And they're not all through the mouth, all right? So, of course, the first type of food is the food that we eat, the liquids that we drink to sustain life. So, breakfast, lunch, dinner, those are all part of that food, are in that category of food that we eat and drink. But you could also think about those substances such as caffeine and alcohol and drugs that we take, whether they're prescribed drugs or they're non prescription drugs or illicit drugs that we ingest in our bodies. So that's the first type of food. The second type of food is environmental stimuli that we take in. And this can be mentally or emotionally, including media, music, and pollution, the things that are around us that we are constantly being that we are taken in through our senses. So, if we're around a lot of pollution, that's going to affect us in a way. If we're around fresh air, that will affect us in a different way. The music we listen to will affect us. Are you listening to heavy metal music? Are you listening to rage music? Are you listening to calming and sedating music? And then finally, media. So, television shows, social media is also part of this. And then finally, the people we associate with. So, those people that we're around also affect us. We're always absorbing our interactions with other people and processing events and interactions that go on with them. All right, so next, let me see if I can get this to move. Hmm. All righty. I'm trying to get it to go. I'm not sure what's happening. Maybe because I was writing? Oh, well, I'm not sure what's going on there. So let me go back here. Oh, there we go. I'm so sorry. All right, so here are the foods we consume, and my writing is going to apparently be on each screen. I've not used this before. So let's clear the screen. There we go. All right, so the three types of food that we consume go back to the gunas, and the gunas are also part of the lessons this week or the content this week. We have tamasic, rajasic, and swathik. All right, so that S in Sanskrit is pronounced with a swa sound, like it's got a W after the S. And these are the states of nature. So the swathik foods that we consume, whether they're people, the environmental stimuli, or foods that we take in by our mouth, are going to be balanced, calm, and going to cause us to be responsive and even tempered. So we have things such as in season fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts, sprouts, legumes, and overall vegetarian or vegan diet. And we've talked about ahimsa when we were talking about the yamas, you don't have to necessarily be a vegan to take in Swatvik food. You can practice ahimsa vegetarian, which is eggs and milk products gathered in a non harming manner. I am not a vegan. I'm not a vegetarian. So I'm not necessarily a proponent of going either direction. But I do believe that there is some logic behind this. Environmental stimuli that might be considered Swatvik, calming music, television and online media that lifts our spirits, and limiting the use of technology, because technology can be a good thing, but it can also hinder us and be negative in our lives. And finally, people we associate with, including supportive people who want to encourage us and help us think straight. We don't always think straight when we are around people who may not be the best influence for us. All right, tamasic foods cause dullness, lethargy, laziness, and inactivity. And some of the foods that we ingest by mouth that can be considered tamasic: meat products, leftover and processed foods, alcohol, any type of substance that brings our activity levels down would be considered tamasic. So think about music or media that has a depressing message that make you feel hopeless, that might make you feel depressed. Maybe you need to limit some of these types of music that come in. And an example of a person who might be tamasic would be people who discourage us, that might belittle our accomplishments and make us feel bad about ourselves. So think about the people you associate with in that regard who might be tamasic for you. And finally, rajasic is activity, energy, restlessness, stressfulness, anxiety, and anger. Caffeine, sugar, onions, and garlic are sometimes considered rajasic, although some people will say that it's tamasic, onions and garlic. Any spicy food that increases our energy. Music or media that incite strong emotions that cause us to become angry, for instance. And then the people who cause us, let's see, who pressure us to do more than we're able to do, or exhaust us in a way because of their energy, they're just pulling energy from us, then those would be our rajasic people. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. Let me see if I can do that. Clear the screen. Come on now. Let's go. I don't know how I did it the last time, but let's see if I can figure it out. There we go. All right, so what I've included in this lesson is, you don't have to do this pear deck down here. I just put that on there in case anybody wanted to try it. I can probably take it off. But in order to build an effective mindfulness practice, the first thing we have to do is learn about the types of environmental stimuli that affect us. And what we want to do is try to come up with a plan that can help us withdraw from those things that are not necessarily healthy for us, or those people who aren't healthy for us, and replace them with things that help us feel balanced and calm, even tempered and responsive. So you can make a little chart like this, and you could map out what's going on in your life and see if there's something that you're missing that might be affecting you in a way that's causing yourself to come out of balance. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so thinking about the metaphor of a turtle, with Pratyahara, if you think about a turtle in a shell, when a turtle is ready to sleep, or if it feels like it's being threatened, it's going to pull all of its appendages in and pull its little head into its shell and close off really tight. So when we think about Pratyahara, think about the turtle in the shell. You are that turtle. The shell is going to be your protector from the outside world and those things that affect you. So when you're ready to become more mindful and contemplative, maybe you want to practice your meditation, you want to find a place where you feel safe, where you feel non-threatened, where you're not going to be distracted by outside stimuli that's going to help, that's going to not help, but take you off your path for meditation. When you're doing a yoga practice, the physical practice, you want to find a place that's going to be free of distractions, where you can focus on your breath. So this is where the metaphor of the turtle comes in. So it prepares us to meditate when we withdraw and when we know those things that are causing us issues. Um, think about that and what you can do in your life to make you. Okay. The three-part belly breath we've already learned, but I wanted to review that. When you're ready to practice the first step of mindfulness, engage your Durga breath, that three-part breath. Take an inhale through the nose, expanding the belly, then expanding the lungs and the ribs, and then the chest. And then exhaling in reverse, contracting each of those three segments of your abdomen. So, working through Pratyahara, beginning with a three-part breath, when you get ready to practice your meditation or ready to do your practice, your physical practice, I have a video here with the three-part breath if you want to watch it again. And this is about the bee breath. The bee breath can also be helpful to learn withdrawal of the senses because you're essentially closing off your ears, shutting your eyes, and creating somewhat of a shell like that little turtle. All right. Here's a video for the bee breath practice. And I believe that's it for this. No, no, final thoughts. Okay, so withdrawal of the senses is the first step to creating an effective mindfulness practice. And as you practice more mindfulness, you're going to become more proficient. And you'll see that these inner limbs of yoga, these last four, are all interwoven. Um, we have to learn to limit the foods that create a sense of imbalance within. Think of the metaphor of the turtle to help you visualize the practice of pratyahara. The Durga breath can help with meditation and with withdrawal from everything, as well as the bee breath. And that is it for Limb 5. Let me know if you have questions.